Game 2 is the Bears at the Lions, with a total of 43.5 and the Bears favored by 2.5. Unfortunately, we won't be spending Thanksgiving with fantasy superstar Mitchell Trubisky, so we're having Chase Daniel over instead. Daniel hasn't started a game since 2014, and while it's hard to project how he'll perform on Thursday, we can predict that the Bears will likely lean on the running game. If you really want a low-owned play, you could gamble on Daniel against the league's 29th ranked pass defense, but that doesn't feel like the right way to gain leverage on the field. The low ceiling for the Bears quarterback obviously affects their receivers, and number one option Allen Robinson looks way overpriced on FanDuel for his usage in this offense. I do think A-Rob is playable on DraftKings, and he does have 15 targets in his last 2 games, though I doubt he'll see that much work on Thursday. Second option Taylor Gabriel is so cheap on DraftKings that he'll be one of the highest owned plays despite not having a skill set that matches his quarterback. But after getting 9 targets last week, I think he can exceed his price even with mediocre quarterback play. Slot man Anthony Miller is still pricey after blowing up 2 weeks ago, while tight end Trey Burton is getting cheap but only has 12 targets in his last 4 games. You could throw a dart at one of those guys and hit. We'll see. The Lions are a below-average run defense, and they've been vulnerable to receiving backs. The matchup sets up well for Tariq Cohen, but his touch count has been erratic in recent weeks. Cohen's best games have come in shootouts and losses, and he's averaged only 9 touches a game over the last month of Bears victories. The lack of use has driven his price down, and he'll be one of the few low-owned starting backs on Thursday. Meanwhile, powerback Jordan Howard's best games have come in big Bears wins, which I also don't really expect here. But I still think Howard gets plenty of work with Trubisky sideline, and I especially like his price on DraftKings. Lions quarterback Matt Stafford has been a mediocre fantasy option all year, and now faces one of the league's best defenses, featuring a healthy Khalil Mack. With a team total of just over 20, it's hard to feel optimistic about Stafford, and the best thing you can say is that he'll be the lowest owned starting quarterback on this slate. While I don't expect big numbers for the Lions' passing game, the concentration of targets on their receivers makes them interesting. Kenny Golladay has double-digit targets in his last 2 games, and with Marvin Jones still out, we can expect more of the same on Thursday. The Lions' depth chart technically lists TJ Jones as the number 2, but it was newly acquired Bruce Ellington who caught 6 of 9 targets last week. It's interesting that Jones actually ran more routes, so maybe he bounces back this week. Despite Kerryon Johnson being ruled out, the Lions still intend on splitting their backfield touches between 3 players. I am not interested in Zach Zenner or LeGarrette Blount, though his DraftKings price is tempting. But I think Theo Riddick is very playable since he functions more like a short yardage receiver and has 18 catches in his last 3 games. Riddick is priced cheap enough that he'll be one of the highest owned backs on DraftKings, and I question if there's really much ceiling against the Bears. Still, he's a viable play on Thursday.